González. I am a City Heights resident here in San Diego. Mi nombre es Ana González y soy residente de City Heights aquí en San Diego. I am a mom of 3 kids and we live in this community for more than 16 years. I am also a community leader and I care a lot about the families and children in our community. Today, I want to talk about the budget cuts to our parks, rec centers, libraries, and pools. These places are very important for families like mine. They are not just buildings, they are safe spaces where our kids can play, learn, and grow. Thanks to these spaces, they have opportunities that they might not have otherwise. These places have helped us stay connected, informed, and feel like we are part of a community that truly cares. My children have gone to programs at the rec centers, pools, and we spend many days at the library doing homeworks or joining activities. These places have helped us a lot. They give us support and they help kids stay active and focused. If the city cuts the budget, many families will lose these important services. It's not fair for our children to lose safe spaces and opportunities. So today, I'm here to say, please don't take these spaces away from us.
Yes.
We need more support, no less. Our kids deserve to feel safe, to learn, and to dream. Because when we invest in our children, we invest in a stronger, safer, and more united community for everyone. Thank you for listening. Now, Rosa Lascuaga from City Heights CDC.
Thank you, Ana. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosa Lascuaga. I'm the Vice President of Community Development and Policy at City Heights Community Development Corporation. All my life, I've worked alongside the families of City Heights, a community of immigrants, refugees, and working class people who have endured generations of disinvestment. Today, we face another painful chapter, the City of San Diego's proposed cuts across the board. Let me be clear, these cuts are not equal in their impact. A 20% cut from already underfunded eviction prevention programs, affordable housing development, library hours, parks and rec centers, and critical infrastructure projects will devastate neighborhoods like City Heights, communities already in the edge of crisis. When you cut these services, you don't just trim the budget, you take away someone's chance to stay in their home. But it doesn't have to be this way. The city already has a tool to make smarter, more just decisions. The Climate Equity Index, it was designed to prioritize investments in our neighborhoods most impacted by pollution, poverty, and climate risk like ours. Instead of implementing across-the-board cuts, the City of San Diego should use the Climate Equity Index to protect communities with very low, and moderate access to opportunity from further harm and disinvestment. We need targeted solutions, not blanket reductions, because displacing families during a housing crisis is not cost-saving. It's costly and cruel. To our leaders, this is our moment to lead with courage, protect our programs that protect people, using the Climate Equity Index as a data-driven tool to identify and prioritize communities that have long been underinvested and categorized as having low to moderate access to opportunity, commits to a budget that reflects inequity and not efficiency. Because our city values are not measured by spreadsheets. They're measured about how we treat the most vulnerable among us. Thank you all. I would like to introduce Jimmy Figueroa from Chicano Federation.
Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Jimmy Figueroa, and I'm proud to stand here today representing Chicano Federation of San Diego County. We are an organization rooted in equity, service, and community. Since 1969, we have been a movement of volunteers, advocates, employees, families, leaders united by one belief: opportunity belongs to everyone. At Chicano Federation, our mission is simple: to cultivate opportunity and advocate for families and individuals so that every San Diegan, regardless of zip code, has a chance to thrive. Every year, we serve more than 50,000 people. Last year alone, 10,000 children found opportunity, recreation, sport, nourishment, care through our programs. We have been intentional about investing in the future of our community. But today, that future is at risk. San Diego's proposed across-the-board budget cuts to libraries, parks, recreation centers are not just fiscal decisions. They are a direct hit to the soul of our communities, especially communities of color that have endured generations of divestment and systemic neglect. These cuts strike at the heart of our neighborhoods, limiting safe spaces where children learn, families gather, and community members are empowered. Let's be clear. Public parks, libraries, and recreation programs are more than just services. They are safe havens for our youth. They are where youth meet mentors, where students find hope and support, and where families get connected to resources. These services are our community's lifelines. They are essential tools that help break the cycles of poverty, violence, and isolation. They are a critical component to our community's public safety. When you cut these programs, you're not creating sustainability, you're deepening inequality. You are choosing to balance a budget on the backs of the most vulnerable. We cannot afford to lose funding in spaces where hope and opportunity still exist for families who cannot afford private camps or after-school programs for their children. We cannot accept cuts that deepen inequality. We are here today to say no more cuts. No more abandoning the neighborhoods that have already been flooded, generation after generation, by divestment, neglect, and broken promises. Our communities are not drowning from a lack of resilience. They are drowning from a lack of resources. San Diego's future depends on every child, every family, and every neighborhood having the opportunity they need to rise. This is the time for bold leadership. This is the time to fund our future, not undermine it. We ask the mayor and city council to stand with our working families, to stand with our youth, and stand with our community. Thank you. Gracias. I would like to have Elsa Morales Roth from Emmanuel Neris Foundation join us next to the podium. What's up?
Good morning. I'm Elsa Morales Roth, Executive Director for Emilio Neris Foundation. For more than 23 years, we have helped families navigate their child's journey with cancer and life-threatening diseases. Through equitable access to healthcare, shelter, food, and transportation, we want to make sure that every single child and youth, as well as their families, can thrive. In our work, we see firsthand how health is not just determined by hospitals and clinics. It's shaped by our homes, by our neighborhoods, by our communities. That's why the proposed city budget cuts are so concerning. San Diego's working families and historically under-resourced communities are at risk. These cuts threaten the very services that keep our communities safe, healthy, and connected. Parks, libraries, youth programs, and housing stability initiatives are not luxuries. They are lifelines. They are public health infrastructure. When families lose access to stable housing, community programs, and safe environments for their children and youth, the health suffers. Their family's health suffers. The stress increases. You are creating health issues in our communities by underinvesting in them. Their ability to manage illness, especially something as devastating as child's cancer diagnosis, becomes even more difficult. For the families we serve, these support systems often mean the difference between hope and despair, between stability and crisis. We must reject the proposed across-the-board budget cuts, because when some communities have faced chronic underinvestment for decades, cutting equally is not cutting fairly. Equality is not equity. There must be a deliberate and honest budget analysis that considers the long-standing disparities in underinvestments in the communities that need it the most. This is more than a budget. It is a statement of our values. San Diego deserves a people-first approach that protects and strengthens public resources, especially in climate equity zones and historically underinvested communities. I repeat, the budget is a statement of our values, and the city of San Diego should value their community. We stand with this coalition to call on city leadership to protect parks, libraries, rec centers, and youth programs, and to invest in a future rooted in equity, health, and opportunity for all. We cannot destroy hope for our communities. We cannot cut. Let's not abandon our children and youth. Instead, let's fund our children and youth. Let's fund our future. Thank you so much. It is my honor to introduce Alor Calderon, Employee Rights Center.
Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks so much. My name is Alor Calderon. I'm the director of the Employer Rights Center. And I am here on behalf of my organization and the workers that we represent across the city to say very clearly, very directly, cuts across the board, cuts that just don't distinguish between working families and people that have suffered from low investment and low resources is not the way to go. You want the city to do well, you want everybody in the city to do well, then make sure that the ones that have less are the least affected by the cuts.
Yes.
It's not that hard. The ones that have the least, the ones that don't have 5 options where to go in the afternoon and to go play with the children, or several recreation centers. When you have low resources, you rely on those for your, not for your entertainment, but for your well-being. So, City Council, Mayor Gloria, you worked in City Heights for many years. I want to remind you that when you were here, you walked around the streets knowing that the resources that we have are precious for the well-being of our families. And so when you propose, and I hope it's just a proposal, across the board cuts, you are reminding yourself of those days when you yourself were advocating for more resources for this community. And I want to remind also everybody who's part of this process, there are very particular things that get greatly affected in these communities. Summer months, when there is no school, we need those resources. When there's extreme heat and there is very, very few resources here in the community for cool zones, we need the library, we need the parks, we need the programs. So, for the better of the city, make sure the ones that have less get the least affected with the cuts. Fund our future.
Adelante.
And I would like to introduce Leona Selbek from the Parks Foundation.
Thank you very much. My name is Leona Sublet, and I'm the president and CEO of the San Diego Parks Foundation. Our mission at its core is to make all of our recreation centers and our parks citywide equitable and accessible to all San Diegans. And most importantly, our parks and our recreation centers are essential for our communities. The Parks Foundation understands the city's challenge in making the budget cuts, but the budget cuts should protect services to our under-resourced San Diegans, as park and recreation centers provide these essential no-cost and low-cost community programs and services that reduce crime and help keep our communities safe. Maintaining our parks and our recreation centers is very, very important, but most importantly, it's investing in the programming and the people, like our assistant center directors, who keep our parks and recreation centers open and are critical, as they are the lifeline to our communities, especially during times like these when parks are so critical to the health of our communities. For many San Diegans who live in apartments in our urban areas like City Heights, our parks and our recreation centers are their backyards. It's where families gather, it's where our youth can live their dreams, and they are critical for connection. Park budget cuts disproportionately impact San Diegans who already lack outdoor and recreation resources that lead to healthier, no-cost, safe options for our communities. Our parks are also critical infrastructure for public safety, like I mentioned. They provide safe zones for kids. Parks host summer programs like the San Diego Parks Foundation's Parks After Dark, which we are just around the corner from. The San Diego Parks Foundation's Level Up program, citywide sports, nature camps, movies in the park, and many, many other community programs where the data is clear that programs in staffed parks with full hours of operation reduce crime in our areas and keep our communities healthy. Just last year alone, more than 80,000 San Diegans were impacted in a positive manner by these programs at little to no cost. And citywide, these numbers are much, much higher of the San Diegans that enjoy our parks and recreation centers and really view them as a lifeline. Eliminating funding for park staffing and programs that are proven to reduce crime only creates more strain on funding for public safety. We call on San Diegans to let their council members know that supporting parks, especially during the city budgets challenge, will let our communities know that we care about them most. Thank you. And now let me bring up Council Member Sean Elo Rivera. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Leona. All right. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Sean Elo Rivera. I proudly serve as the council member for San Diego's 9th Council District, where we are this morning. I want to thank all the advocates who are out here this morning, standing up for things like park space and libraries and recreation centers, standing up for their communities. It's incredibly important. There's no doubt that we are in a tough budget situation. No one's disputing that. What we are fighting back against is the idea that all communities are starting from the same place and are in the same position to absorb the cuts that are being proposed. They're simply not. For the last few years, we've worked really hard as a city to be more equitable, to recognize the importance of diversity, to see the value of investing in equity, and to take pride in being in an inclusive community. There is no year that has been more important to double down on those efforts than this year. The Trump administration has taken a chainsaw to programs that invest in those programs. They've specifically attacked communities like the one that we're in today. Now is not the time to retreat. It's the time to double down and invest even more in the communities that need it most because they've gotten the least throughout history. There's a couple things I want to point out. One is with specific respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion and the efforts the city has made. That's the city's Office of Race and Equity. Several years back, then Councilmember Montgomery Stepp championed the creation of that office. The city took a lot of pride in investing in that office and in hiring an executive director and putting together a plan to ensure every department across the city is doing its work equitably. Now, while saying that things like equity is not a buzzword and that every decision is infused with equity front of mind, the mayor's proposed budget would divest from the Office of Race and Equity. It'd pull the plug on the leadership position that has helped guide that work. And there's simply no way to explain that we can be an equitable city, a city that champions equity, while divesting in that office. Additionally, the programs that we mentioned this morning, the parks programs, the library programs, the recreation center programs, these are programs that are a lifeline for our communities. That make our communities safer, that make our communities more full of opportunity. And we simply cannot do without them. Pulling the plug and throwing away some of the work that's been done and the investments that have been made, the efforts of the community members behind me is simply not the right. It's not just not the right thing to do. It's not a smart thing to do. So with that, I want to say thank you again to everyone who's standing out here this morning, and invite up one additional community member who's been a champion for this community for over 40 years, ensuring that City Heights gets its fair share, and most importantly, that our young people get what they need. Maria, come on up.
See, we have somebody already fighting for us. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that came out today. Take time out of your busy day to come to us. So I would like to thank everyone here. My name is Maria Cortez. I am a longtime resident here of City Heights. I have been a resident here for 54 years and have seen a lot of changes and seen what happened to our community. This isn't the first time I faced this. Not me, but my community. It's not our first time. And I hope this is going to be the last time, but we struggle. And what's going to happen today is if the mayor's budget passes, it's going to hit our community the hardest. Those of us that have been disinvested for many years. But you know what? It's time for us to fight back. And I have seen what has happened. In the past, when the budgets have been cut for the libraries and the parks, our kids have nowhere to go. So crime increases. This is when gang activity happens. And you see more youth being incarcerated. That's not what we're here for. We're here to fight for our libraries, our parks, because this is where our children come to, our grandkids. My daughter would come here when she was little, here at this park. This park is a great park. It brings back a lot of memories too, because this is what Officer Jeremy Hinwood stood for. He stood for the community, just like we are standing for our community today. And I want to continue to fight for our community. We are fighting for our community. And I want our mayor to also remember, he used to live here in City Heights. And we are not going to let that, we're not going to let him forget that, because we still remember who he is, who he was, but we want him to remember who we are, and we're still going to be here. So this is why I'm here fighting for our community. Now that I'm a little bit older, our voices will not be forgotten, because you see people here that are fighting for what we want and what we need. What we want and what we need is our libraries and our parks to remain open, because without them, our future wouldn't be here. And so I just want to say thank you, and this means a lot to me. So again, thank you for what you guys are doing, and we are continuing to fight, and we're not going to give up.
Yeah.
And if the media also is interested in speaking with us,